that at the general judgments, all bodies will be raised of all time, and that group will be judged all over again, even though they were particularly judged. This is the teaching of Trent. Everyone will be raised and judged again. And it says that the general judgment will not vary from the particular judgment. So the question is, why do they have to be judged a second time? And the answer is,
glory to God in the highest.
Thanks so much for tuning in to Armor of God again. And as always, I want to thank each one of you for taking a little bit of your time to be here with us. So hopefully you're going to learn a lot about our faith here in this video again. Now for this one, I'm going to share a few clips on hell as well as prayers that affect those in the past. And talking about hell, I came across something that people shared on Twitter, or X for that matter. I'm just not used to calling it X. Anyway, apparently Iran has opened a hell-themed park to make people more religious and fear going to hell. Check this out, and for me personally, I'm not really sure what to make of it though. Now, going back to the clips I prepared for you, we'll start with this YouTube Shorts I made for you a few months back. Let me share with you again, and I'll explain further after this.
And your prayer is outside of time and space. I don't know if anybody's ever told you that, but because we're speaking with a divine person, the prayer is outside of time and space. So I'll tell you something I learned years ago. When I see skid marks on the highway that go into that dividing wall, that means somebody had a terrible accident. And I always pray, Lord, send your angels to assist in that accident, because that prayer can go back in time and be applied right before the accident happened to help the people that were in it. Yeah, we can do that because God can do it. You know, we can't do it on our own, but because He can do it, we can pray that way. And it's a wonderful thing.
So in that short clip, Father Reehil talked about how our prayers are outside of time and space, and how our prayers can affect those in the past. So for further explanation on this one, I want to share this clip of Father Joseph Iannuzzi instead. Please listen to this.
The Council of Trent taught that the particular judgment will not be changed during the general judgment. So once a soul leaves the body, its particular judgment is pronounced definitively. Nothing can change that. So therefore, when at the final resurrection, the final judgment, the sentences pronounced will not vary from those of the particular judgment at the moment of the person's death. So even though these ancestors of ours died before us, our prayers do not change their particular judgment that God already pronounced. But what happens is that while they were alive, God had already applied our prayers today to them. Follow me? So God, who is timeless, can take the prayers of someone 100 years from now and apply it to us right now today, because God foresees their prayers and actions in His timelessness. This is the same dynamism of redemption. God applied to the souls of Enoch, Elijah, David, Joseph of the Old Testament, the Maccabees, the prayers of us today, even though we were not yet conceived or born or did our acts. And he applied the same thing with Christ's acts. So the church refers to these acts, redemptive acts of Christ, as foreseen or pre-existent acts of Christ that are retroactive, present, and proactive. This is how the redemptive acts work, yeah. You see, basically, if you pray for Judas now, for him to be saved or to not kill himself, whatever, but if we, just knowing that, prayed for his conversion or his forgiveness, it would not be effective because his particular judgment has already been pronounced. But what God does is use our prayers during his lifetime when he was alive, which he already squandered. So you may pray for him now, but he will have squandered them anyway, you see? The general judgment, the Council of Trent teaches that at the general judgments, all bodies will be raised, no matter where they are, even those that were cremated. So the context is the Council of Trent taught that at the general judgments, all bodies will be raised of all time, and that group will be judged all over again, even though they were particularly judged. This is the teaching of Trent. Everyone will be raised and judged again, and it says that the general judgment will not vary from the particular judgment. So the question is, why do they have to be judged a second time? And the answer is, because their glory will be manifest to everyone and their condemnation to everyone. That the general judgment is a manifestation to all. So Jesus says, nothing that is hidden, nothing is hidden that will not be unveiled. Nothing is concealed that will not be revealed. So everything will be shown at the general judgment in the sight of all. Even the fall of the angels, even they will be judged at the general judgment. This is a teaching of Trent. So it's not just the people who are alive at the time of Christ's return. It's everyone of all time will be judged at the general judgment. Yes, this is a teaching of Trent.
And here's another clip of him, and how we should not be selective in praying for people just because we assume, oh, that person is in hell. I shouldn't pray for him. Oh, he's in heaven, then I should pray for that person.
We cannot take a person out of hell. Never. Once you're in hell, you're there forever. The thing is, God keeps from us the knowledge of a lot of this. We don't know who's in hell. We don't know who's in heaven unless the church canonizes someone. Then we know that they've made it. So there's a reason why God does not reveal this to us. We know very few people that are in hell, only from approved prophetic revelation like Faustina. Faustina says in her Diary of Divine Mercy that she recognized in hell when she went there some people she knew on earth. But how many people do we know that are in hell? We don't. Maybe during exorcisms it's revealed that this person is in hell tormenting a soul. Because of that we know it. But we don't know 99.9% of the people where they are. Only God knows this. So we don't have to really nitpick about this and that of, I don't want to pray for him, he's in hell. I want to pray for him because he's not in hell. We don't know these things. What we simply do is say fiat to God and pray for all, that none may be lost. And what the rest is up to the people who decide to reject our prayers or accept them.
By the way, during a retreat with priests, one of the priests asked Father Iannuzzi a rather interesting question. And the question was this, and I quote, "Is it possible that any of those canonized saints that the Church has canonized, whether it's possible for any of them to be in hell?"
Now, anyone who lives a life of heroic Christian virtue cannot go to hell. That's a fact. Whoever lives a life of heroic Christian virtue cannot go to hell because they're living in God's grace. And a person in God's grace doesn't go to hell. It's only if you're out of his grace that you go to hell. Mortal sin, unrepentant mortal sin, which is out of God's grace, can alone take you to hell. So the Church has a process, an inquiry, where they examine meticulously the virtues, and they even have a devil's advocate to try to prove that they were not virtues, that they were just, selfish acts. Like with Pope John Paul II, Mother Teresa of Calcutta, you had the devil's advocate claiming she was stealing children off the street, Mother Teresa, and not helping them. But that was debunked. So the Church goes through a process where they have to prove meticulously before devil's advocate that this person lived the virtues in a heroic manner, habitually, stably. And that through their intercession, 2 miracles that defy the laws of science exist. So that's a pretty difficult feat for someone who's going to hell to pull off. So I would say, even though the act of canonizing a person is not an infallible declaration of the Church, the probability of it being wrong is like 99.9% impossible. Because they have to, the Church will not canonize someone simply because they were popular. That's not good enough. They have to perform a miracle, 1, to be beatified, and 2, to be a saint. And the devil can't perform good miracles to lead someone back to the Church. The devil can perform temporary things, but then, of course, in the end, it always founders. But, it's a good question, but the probability is high that all the canonized are not in hell, very high.
Now, I have 2 interviews with 2 different exorcists coming up, and I will share those interviews as soon as possible. But for now, I would really like to share again this reminder from Father Jose Fortea that we shouldn't be blaming the demons for our sins all the time. Listen to this.
Opening to the bad spirits. They are doors that if you trespass those doors, you are opening yourself to the influence of bad spirits. Let us see in the positive way to understand better the occult side. If you go to the Holy Mass, if you pray, if you ask the intercession of saints, if you are in a holy place, if you receive the mysteries of God, the Eucharist, the confession, the confirmation, if you adore God, if you have a dialogue with all those heavenly beings, you are opening doors to yourself and angels, saints, the Blessed Mother will be around you. They will be watching you, taking care of you. You will be not alone. They will go with you. My angel will go ahead of you, says the Bible in a moment. Then the opposite is true. Some people, they began to have more contact with bad companions, bad spiritual companions, through any way of occultism. It has no sense to say one by one the dangers. No. Everything that has to do with sorcery, witchcraft, to invoke unknown spirits is always dangerous. I do not say you will become possessed. No. Few people become possessed. But more people, it's more frequent, more people, they have influences of demons that they put thoughts on their heads, and they insist very much, and through prayer they have to make them to be away. But people do not pray. They try sometimes to resolve that problem going to other witch, to other wizard, to other sorcerer, and the problem aggravates more and more and more. Finally, when they arrive to an exorcist, they have several influences. But remember, all of you that are hearing me, this world, it has given to the power of humans. Then 90% or perhaps 95% of everything, it has to do only with natural forces, human forces, psychological forces, social forces. Only a little number of actions come from demons. But we are not toys in their hands. We have received that beautiful gift that is free will. And we say no. Or we say, okay, I will hear this thought, even I do not know that thought does not come from me. But please, do not blame hell for everything, because that is not right. The Bible insists very much in the responsibility, insists very much that we are the forgers of history. We always blame the demons, but they tempt us from time to time. They are not the whole day at our side.
For the last clip in the video this time, I want to share another one where Father Iannuzzi talks a little bit about the Dominicans, Franciscans, and Benedictine. Listen to this one.
So first thing we must do in these days of confusion, in these end times, is form our conscience through the unchanging doctrine of the Church, Christ's Church, not our church, God's Church. Number two, we must find those who are faithful to the teachings of Christ's Church. Find those who are faithful to the magisterium and listen to them. Don't follow those who attack the Church's doctrine, who attack the magisterium. You have to always be loyal to Christ's Church. Remember, it's not our church, it's his. And then, of course, we have to be vigilant on allowing only good sources to influence our minds. So we should not go running around on this internet blog or this internet site trying to create a potpourri or a melting pot of different spiritualities, devotions that contradict each other. You know, I see the websites out there that throw everything together, good and bad. And it's like, pick for yourself, choose for yourself. And I've written people on these blogs saying this is bad. There are several out there. They post the latest news without discerning whether or not this is of God, with things that are approved by the Church. So you have an admixture. This confuses us. It's better to avoid these blogs altogether and stick to only those or these websites or these sources that are faithful to Church's magisterium. Otherwise, we're going to be confused, like headless chickens running around, never growing spiritually. And this is also why the Church has taught since time immemorial that we shouldn't be mixing together all these different devotions into one thing. This is spiritual. This causes spiritual indigestion. And there's no heartburn pill that can fix it except just stopping it. And this is why the Church since time immemorial has kept distinct different spirituality. So you have the Benedictine, whose spirituality is prayer and work, ora et labora. Then you have the Franciscans, whose spirituality is poverty. Then you have the Dominicans, whose spirituality is preaching, and the list goes on. So you don't see a Benedictine and a Franciscan and a Dominican mixing each other's devotions, do you? Well, that same thing, same teaching of the Church applies to us.
So that's all for the video this time, and we really appreciate all of you for your continuous support and prayers. And if you like our works and you'd like to support us, I left a link to our PayPal donation in the description box below, and thank you so much to all of you for your support and contributions. Well then, until the next one, thanks again for watching and may God bless you.